Guardian, we've picked up a high-gain transmission. Origin point is somewhere along the coast, near the Cosmodrome.
What is up, Guardians? This is Cosmodrome Radio, broadcasting all the way from Neo Muna. We are on vacation right now, hanging out, talking about Destiny 2 and all the great things with it. We're going to dive straight in because the light fall has happened, and we are diving straight into the nonsense of what's been going on with this game. Destiny 2 Lightfall, the newest expansion, came out on Tuesday. It is now Friday, and we're diving all the way into this nonsense. Don't forget that you can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, YouTube, all those great places. You can follow us on Twitter at Cosmodrome Radio. If you want to be a part of the community, follow us on Twitter and then join the Discord where you can have your questions answered live on the show. Where you can it's gonna be a great time and whatnot. We're diving straight in. Just so everyone knows, there will be a spoiler-free section real quick, and then we'll give you plenty of time to dip out, and then we will dive straight into the spoiler-ing of what's going on because there's a lot to talk about. My name is Pen of the Paladin. To my left, we have the man who loves to talk over Osiris and Nimbus every 5 seconds. They wanted to open their damn mouths. Alchemy,
I'm sorry.
How you doing?
Sorry for doing that.
Like,
okay? I kid you were
like,
90% of the time.
Well, no, I kid you not. Like, every time we would go in, we'd be playing the game, text would pop up on the screen during a mission, and he would have something to say. And I'm like, bro, do you not care about what's going on? Do you not want to talk? Like, how dare? And it's just like, I would be like, Alchemy, what? Shut up. And it's just like they're talking, and it's just like, but no. To my right, we have the mod queen extraordinaire, Tower Mom. How you doing?
Doing all right.
All right, cool. Let's go ahead and dive into this. So, like I said, spoiler-free thoughts. We're just gonna spit it out real quick. That way, you know, if you know our thoughts and whatnot. Tower, how you feeling about the overall with this campaign?
I actually really enjoyed it. I really did. I had a good time. I liked the way that the cliffhanger was, and I'm excited to see what is going to happen in the year of Lightfall that Bungie says that will be happening. Not just the single story, the year. Because it's going to be expanded.
Okay. Fair enough.
Thank God for TWAB.
Why do you say TWAB? It's
because
TWAB.
No, it's not a word. It's TWAB.
Oh my God. Anyway, Alchemy, how are you feeling about the campaign overall?
I loved it. Even before I read the TWAB, but the TWAB gave me a lot more. Like, I felt like it was short because it was like only 121 steps, but now I know why that it was 21 steps. Because in the TWAB, they say that the seasonal content is going to match with the Lightfall content, so it'll explain more things that they didn't get to in Lightfall.
So, I'm the controversial one in the room, and I'm not giving Bungie the benefit of the doubt when it comes to this TWAB. I'm going to act like the TWAB doesn't exist, and I'm going to judge the merits on the campaign itself because people are paying $60, and if they bought the premium edition, $100 for this campaign. This isn't like I made the joke. Destiny light filler. This feels like they really did just come in and just start slicing away what needed to be told here. There's a lot of just moments where you want them to explain something. There's moments where you want them to elaborate or understand something. There's moments that are just non-existent, and you're just like, what's going on? So this entire campaign is getting a C- for me, where it's like I try to give it a score out of 10 a little bit ago when I was talking to Tower. Where I was I said maybe a 6.5 or a 7. I'm like, nah, you barely pass in my class. You get a C- because this felt like very meh very meh. So those are like the general thoughts. If you guys want to dip out, this is your one warning. This is like your one warning. If you don't want to be spoiled about Lightfall, leave in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, are they gone? Oh, okay, cool. All right, so what in the world was this campaign? And there was a moment specifically. There was a specific moment, and Alchemy was doing the campaign with me when that happened, and we were in the mission where you invade Callus's ship, and you're then a tormentor shows up while like I'm on a plate with a bubble and Alchemy's on the other plate with a well, and a tormentor shows up, and the ghost goes, "Tormentor on the right." And I sit there and I'm like, Alchemy, they didn't tell us what a tormentor was or what the name of a tormentor was in the campaign, did they? Alchemy goes, no. And I'm like, I didn't think so either. Like that was the first one. There's 4 key moments where I very much was like, something's wrong here. The next one was at the end of the campaign where Callus just shows up. Like there's no build up, there's no nothing. Like there's the fight outside where like you find out like as you're going down to the Veil, he kicks Kyle's ass and like you get that like and Kyle's like, he's on his way, good luck. And like and then when you get there, he's just standing there. And then fun fact, if you until you walk forward, you can keep shooting him. So like me and Alchemy built up grand oversure volley shots. And then just blew his whole like a third of his health bar, even on legend mode. So that was funny.
I'll try that.
Yeah, it was funny. But like that was the second thing, and the other the third thing was just overall like when it came to the campaign, there was just stuff that wasn't being explained. Like the really big one was when you're on the Cabal ball. And like when you're exiting the ship and you land and it fades to black and there's like no cutscene, no nothing. You're just there outside the Cabal ball. Like it just really feels like someone went through and just started cutting and slicing and trying to like fit this into an 8-mission structure without really knowing what needed to be there and what didn't need to be there. And it really sucks because there's so much, and like there was one thing specifically that Bife said to like the overall like system, where he said, I in good consciousness can't recommend this to a not lore heavy player. Like if it's a casual player, I can't recommend this to them because they're not going to understand half of what is going on. They're going to feel so utterly confused because even people like Bife, who is the literal lore daddy of the community, doesn't understand what's going on. And like there's so much that like you can give them a lot. There's a lot where you can be like, hey, yo, they want to show, not tell. They want to give you some things for Final Shape. Cool. There's some of that. But then there's like just easy stuff like, what is the Veil? What is the Veil supposed to do? How the hell does the Veil power all of Neo Muna and let everyone live in Sword Art Online? Like what? Like those things. There's certain things with this where you really feel like they just didn't elaborate and didn't give you basic information. Like, and it sucks. And there's just a moment where Kaido just shows up and tries to square up against her dad and saves you from his ship, and you're like, hey Kaido, how'd you get here? I don't know. Like you just like there's certain things where you like because Osiris had to stow away on the ship to get there, and we followed him to get to Neo Muna. We like because to that point we still didn't know where Neo Muna was. Like we didn't know. So unless we put out a tracking beacon for Kaido to follow us, which they never explained, that didn't tell us, Kaido just shows up ready to box, and that's cool. But like a one-off comment, something small, because there's so many casual players who are going to go into this campaign and not understand anything. And it's going to suck. Like with Witch Queen and Beyond Light, they had a cohesive narrative from start to finish. that like other than the fact they froze Aramis and Beyond Light that paid off an expansion and a half later, you could just be done. You could just be done. It was a $60 expansion. Like it told you what it needed to tell you. It had a bit of a cliffhanger with the ziggurat and the darkness and whatnot, and you could wait till the next campaign. Witch Queen comes out, leaves you on a little bit of a cliffhanger with like the Traveler going back to Earth and Omaru getting away. Which where the fuck is Omaru? We don't know what the fuck Omaru is.
Yeah, he's still in buttfuck nowhere.
Like the Traveler just
He's still
kidnapped him, and we don't know
hidden
where
in
he's at.
Throne World.
Well, no, apparently, like when we saw the clip, the Traveler took Umaru. Like he took him and left. So it's like there's certain things like that where it's like well, when it came to Witch Queen, they straight up were like, yo, this is cohesive, it's done, the story's here, it's a great package, and there's a little bit of a cliffhanger where we have to prepare for the second collapse incoming. Cool. Leads in the season of the Chosen, in the season of the Risen, leads in the next thing. Cool. But with this, there's so much just like non-existent. And I'm not even mad with the cliffhanger where it's like, oh, we lost. Damn right we need to lose. We've been looking to get our asses kicked for a hot minute, but we didn't get like a Red War level threat where we're invaded, where we like lose everything. This is supposed to be where light falls and where we lose everything. Like no one understands what Lightfall means because like nothing happened. It just like the Witness carved a hole in the Traveler, which there was something that like Nolan North as a news reporter said on Neo Muno where it's like this from like Einstein thing. But other than that, like no one knows what the heck just happened. And Zavala and Ikora are like, oh, the Traveler's gone. What does that mean?
Yeah.
What is that?
That is something that I was that is definitely that specific point about Zavala and Ikora saying that the Traveler is gone. But that is one thing that really bugged me. Like, no, it's not gone. You may not feel its presence anymore, but it's still physically fucking there.
Right.
Yeah.
It is still there. Don't tell me that it's gone because it's not. Like that definitely is a complaint that I have.
Right.
Personally, yes, I am a lore heavy person, so I understand the callbacks to the Veil as initially being one of the 4 races that we were supposed to meet in D1 that was scrapped.
Yeah.
Which I liked that they brought that back in. I like that they brought in Nezarec.
Which that we'll get to. That was cool. That'll probably get more elaboration with the raid and whatnot.
Yeah, that's where I do believe they're going to expand on that. Is the raid and Nezarec, because honestly, I do believe that Nezarec is going to be the boss. But that's just my opinion. They're putting in way too much effort to bring Nezarec in to not have him be the raid boss, in my opinion.
Right.
But honestly, a lot of the stuff that's missing, I think they're doing it on purpose to expand. There was just so much stuff that they're trying to like wrap up and bring in to be able to prepare us for the final shape, that they have to do it. They have to break it up into like chapters. So you have the Lightfall chapter, you have the War on Earth chapter with Season of Defiance, then you're going to have Season of the Deep, and so on and so forth. That will build up, answer questions. These questions that are brought up in Lightfall are meant to be brought up, and then the rest, the seasonal content, I believe that's what's going to answer all of those questions. Because
I can get behind some of that. I can get behind.
Can't just have the Witness there though, because like, and just like not know anything about him, because we still don't know anything about it.
Right, and like that, I feel like we're gonna get a lot of that in Season of the Deep too.
Yeah, I think it's they said in the TWAB that it's going TWAB, but semantics aside, they said, and it really sucks that they felt that they had to say this, in my opinion, but they said that the questions will be answered as the Year of Light fall continues on.
I feel like that's a cop out. I feel like I don't want to like throw too much shade at Bungie, because up until now with Beyond Light and with Witch Queen and the seasons that were evolving with this, it felt like we were like, especially with Season of the Seraph, we were rising to a point where stuff was going to pay off. Like there's still pyramid ships in the atmosphere.
To get our ass kicked because we were too fucking egotistical. We were too arrogant. We needed to get our asses kicked.
Well, that's not what I'm arguing. That's not what I'm even arguing, though. Like, I agree with you on that. I agree with you that we needed to lose this. But, like, the loss should have been, like, the towers destroyed, that we're out in the wilderness having to suffer. Like, the pyramid ships have invaded everywhere. Like, we should have been, like, at ground zero, like, because there was that moment during Red War where we lost our powers. Like Lightfall could have been, okay, cool, all you have is Stasis and Strand, because like Stasis wasn't enough to fight the Witness. You need to find and discover Strand, and that would have been cool. But
that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, like so much of the campaign is focused on Strand that they can barely tell the damn story. Like they're very much trying to throw in Strand, which there's even rumors that in thought processes that Strand was supposed to be with Witch Queen, but they had to move it to here because they needed to fix all the other light subclasses. And that's kind of evident if we're being really honest with ourselves. But in terms of what we have now, like there's basic things like you go into Callus's ship, everyone's like, you need to get to the Veil. What's the Veil? We need to get to the Veil. Like, if there's a really good comparison that Dado made, where he said, if this is Infinity War and Final Shape is Endgame, it feels like Osiris is telling us to find the Infinity Stones, but he won't tell us what the Infinity Stones are. Like, that's the best perspective I've heard of this, where it's like there's so much exposition that should be told, because let's be real. You, me, Alchemy, we read the lore books. We know that, like, we follow life. We know what's going on. But casuals, they need something. Like, there's so much, like when you first see the Veil and the ghost is like, feels familiar. Why? It feels familiar. Why?
He said it feels of the Traveler. That's why it feels familiar.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
he literally says it feels like the Traveler.
But it's like they don't tell us what the Veil is. The Veil's just on Neomuna now, and all we know is that it powers the Sword Art Online. That's all we know. And it's like, that's frustrating, because that shouldn't be something you leave for the season after this or what have you. Especially when this is like $60. People have to save up for this. Like, this is something that people like have to like spend a paycheck on to invest in this game. Like, if this was
the thing is that you don't just buy the campaign. That's $60.
Some people do that. Some people like some people just bought Witch Queen, and Witch Queen was a full package.
I doubt. I don't feel like it was a full package myself. I honestly did not like the Witch Queen story, but
that's a controversial take. Okay.
Yeah,
we might have to dive into that.
I didn't like it. It's not my favorite expansion.
Okay.
Honestly, I liked Curse of Osiris more than I liked Witch Queen.
Wow, that's a hot take. Wow. Okay. I like where this is going. This is some deep comment.
But
okay.
Yeah. The thing that got me with Witch Queen was the seasons.
Well, and that's cool. It really feels like, especially when Bungie knows what's going on and with whatnot. And there was one thing someone said, I forget who said it, but like, there's like, if they want to use the excuse that like the Lightfall and Final Shape got split up because of the pandemic, cool, that's fine. But it still needs to be a complete package. They're like, especially because Beyond Light, if you cut off Season of the Hunt, other than the cliffhanger of Aramis being frozen and the darkness trying to commune with us, and they want to do more communions because of what they told us in Shadowkeep, that there's like it's a complete package. You get stasis, you fight a villain, it's done. But like there's barely anything with Callus other than the fact that like he like finally got his true form. He's like he's resentful of the fact that he has to serve the witness. Like those scenes were powerful. Like that one where he like where he yells at
were.
Oh, go ahead,
Where
me.
the witness yells at him.
Yeah.
That was a pretty
Like I wanted
Yeah.
more
Alice
of
shit
that.
his gigantic metal diaper, and I loved it. I
Yeah.
was here for it.
Yeah.
It was hot. Like I loved that scene. But like especially if I could go back and like take an eraser and fix parts of the final mission, it would straight like instead of seeing Callus's big ass head for the 1,000th time, it should have been Callus comes down literally in form and just lays waste to Kaido's forces and us, and is like, this is the power, the true power of the witness. This is what this dude can do. And
I
he
could get
like
behind that.
and like he throws down. And when Kaido steps up, she whoops his ass for a good minute, and then he pulls up and drags her down to the friggin' veil as we're running and running, trying to get there before him. And then when he crashes into the room, it could be like a multi-level battle. Like I'll be straight up. The
I
legend,
could get behind that.
like the legendary version of the campaign should have been hard. It's supposed to scale up with the more people you have in the room. Alchemy and I literally dropped the banner. If you don't walk forward towards Callus, you can shoot him endlessly and he's just immune. But because of how Grand Overture acts, you can shoot immune bullets and stack up volley rockets. We stepped forward and took out a third of his health bar. Like, and then when he goes into his cleaver form, the strand was so busted, we kept just like suspending him and beating his ass. Like, because it feels like they built Callus's boss fight without Strand in mind. And you kind of just sit there and beat him to a pulp, and it's over. Like, there's no like multi-battle thing. There's no like multiple floors into deeper into Neomuna's core, like throwing you through skyscrapers, nothing like that. It's just done. And it's like, it really feels like that could have been a strike. Like if Bungie ever repurposed Callus's boss fight for a strike, I'd believe it, because it really felt very short and very to the point, and it feels like there's just a lot missing here. Now, granted, it wasn't very satisfying if I only put Callus in the ground.
Disagree
Yes.
with you on that.
Okay.
Because the two of you guys are, like basically PvE gods. Y'all know what you're doing. Someone like me, on normal, I died so many times to that fat fuck. I had to quit and get a friend of mine to come in and join me and help.
So that's a good
So
perspective to have. Okay, cool. I
it's
hear you.
not it's not as easy as you think. If you don't really know what you're doing, or you don't have the best weapons and you're just trying to get through the campaign and trying to, just get through it and get your shit leveled up, and you are using what you're getting as a very, very casual, maybe even a new light player, you know, you're getting these weapons from Nimbus, or from the chests or whatever. You're getting shit rolls on armor that's just meant to power you up, but you don't know what you're doing, so you put that armor on. Now, granted, I'm not the base new light player, so
Mhm.
I had an idea in mind. I had mods in mind, and I was using my upgrade modules to upgrade my shit. But there were points in the story where I literally had to leave the story, go do overworld stuff, or go run strikes in order to get myself up high enough in order to be able to even do damage to some of these things. And this is on normal, okay? Now y'all prepared, and I am all for it. You do your thing. I will support you on that. But someone
Okay.
like me who doesn't care about, bounty hoarding to be able to get all, like 100 some upgrade mods so you can go right through and fix everything. Yeah, even on normal, I struggle, but I like the struggle. I
Hmm.
like to be able to go in and, you know, die some, like 4 or 5, however many times,
Right.
and push myself to the limit, even on a normal campaign, challenge myself and stuff like that. From the perspective of a casual or a new light player, even normal is hard on that. Like I had to bring someone in to help me kill Callus because
Hmm.
I couldn't get the goddamn grapple down.
That's
Like
fair.
I didn't even like start understanding how the grapple mechanics worked in fucking Destiny because one, I'm used to the grapple mechanics in Halo, which use your momentum a lot more. Plus, you're so based with the strand. There's no fragments, no aspects. You have nothing
Yeah.
except for what they give you.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. That's a big criticism I
and
have too. Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
stuck. That's all that you have to work with. And a lot of times, you're either aiming wrong or you're not hitting the grapple point correctly. And you're going to get freaking, booped off into a wall and die because you landed in the wrong spot with a freaking phalanx shield bashing into you.
C-
you know,
Can I? Can I
That
use?
that
Can I,
is me 90% of the time.
yeah,
that's
no, Alchemy
all
has a
the
really
time.
love hate relationship with phalanxes. But can I give you like a little bit of info that Bungie didn't really explain really well?
Mm,
So like, and this was something that we had to tell one of our clanmates, Dava, where as you're going through the Legend campaign specifically, they give you everything. Like in terms of like upgrade modules, in terms of upgrade material. Like by the time you finish the Legend campaign, like, and this is minus bounty prep, this is minus anything. If you just start at 1600 and go into the Legend campaign, you can finish it and have 1770 light gear. Like even between encounters, if you do
how
it the
many
way
upgrade modules do they give you per chest, though? Because in the normal
um
Yeah.
campaign, you get one per chest.
you get 2 chests and you get two per encounter. So at the very least, as you're going through, because I remember when Witch Queen came out, by the time each level of Witch Queen was done, I was over leveling for encounters. And that's the same thing that happened here. And this time I
But
was
not
even more.
everyone can handle legend,
That's fair.
especially
That's very true.
solo.
That's very true. Like, and granted, even the first mission on Legend kind of kicked my ass because I did it by myself. So like
And the
that.
tormentor in that first mission is a
Ooh,
bitch on
yeah.
legend,
Yeah.
especially if you're solo.
So like that's what kind of sucks about it is Bungie doesn't really explain the benefits of Legend mode, despite like how beneficial it can be. And also the
Yeah.
one time I had like there was even a point where like I like the majority of the Legend campaign I could say I could do it by myself, but there was a mission specifically where you're doing the training montage in the Vex network where I
Mhm.
had to
Yeah, I had
legit
to come
call
in and help
Alchemy.
you.
And I was like, bitch, if you don't come help me, I'm gonna throw my controller. Like that's how pissed I got. I was like, no, you need to come help me right now because the giant
Yeah.
firewall was killing me at 100 resilience.
Oh, the
And I was
coffee
like,
grinder?
yeah, I hated that so much. So like there was
And I
that.
got it through it by myself.
And I was so
And
mad. Like it made no sense because you have a rift, so you can cheat. But like
well,
it,
no,
it
I
was
didn't even use my rift. I
uh
literally just what I did was I
I
just kept on
Icarus
using the
dashed the whole
momentum.
time.
but so like
But I
I
used the strand and I kept
yeah.
on building momentum and I kinda stuck to the fire like the wall and I followed it pretty much. And I used my Wendigo to clear out the ads,
Mhm.
and then, every time I would create, orbs of light, I would get explosive light, so that helped me with the boss. And
Mhm.
also, what I also had Quicksilver on, so I could deal with
Mhm.
more of the enemies with the grenade launcher, um, alternate fire mode.
Yeah.
And with all that combined, I would it only took me like 2 supers to get it down, and then I just Wendigo'd it to death.
Mhm. So, like
Now,
oh, go ahead.
okay. So I do want to say, like, as much as I love the story. Okay, my big thing is that I really loved the story. I thought it was great. I thought the characters were well developed.
Mm.
M- My problems, and it's not saying that I don't have problems, like, with some of the stuff in the campaign. I did. I did not like how the strand grapple worked. I did not like how it was very difficult in a lot of places to find the strand nodes.
Yeah, especially in the
Like,
one
Yeah,
fight where
that
when the
that
fight
was
where
yeah,
Rohan dies,
especially in the
I
second half.
hated that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I did not like how, especially in the mission where you have to reset the cloud arc, where they expected you to be able to easily find the node without any sort of waypoint for it. And if
Right.
you didn't find the node, you're reliant on your jump. Me and one of my friends went through that mission, and I died halfway through. He Neither of us could find the strand node, by the way, so we couldn't use the grapple. They literally gave you enough time to be able to literally make it out by the skin of your ass if
Yeah.
you did not have strand.
And the thing about
Because he
oh,
had
go ahead.
1 second left. 1
That's rough.
second left before he finally made it to the cutscene.
And my biggest thing with Strand is when Bungie first pitched it, they said you're going to like we wanted to be more involved with the story. That way, by the end of the campaign, you have a more complete version of the subclass versus what happened with Stasis. Now let's look back at Stasis for a second. In Beyond Light, they introduced Stasis within the first like 20 minutes, where you see it be used by Aramis. You go down the hill after the first mission, and you get introduced to it by Elsie. Then you go to a couple of ziggurats, you go to a couple of pyramid like monuments. There's like 3 through the entire campaign, but each boss fight they allow you to use it and test it, and it's pretty complete based on what
Yeah.
Stasis is supposed to be. So you go through it, and it's very like to a certain extent, it's very well done. Like say what you will about the Born in Darkness quest, it's kind of annoying and tedious, but like the way they did it in Beyond Light was satisfactory. I was
It
okay
was.
with that. Now, if you look at Beyond Light, they had like dedicated missions to Strand. It was like Osiris is freaking out about Strand and trying to train you. He's getting mad that you're exhausted by it. What really should have happened, like what really should have happened was you get there, you land on Neomuna, you square up against Callus for like the first time, and you discover Strand because like he uses the light dampener on you, and then in a cutscene you harness Strand for the first time, and no one knows what it is. You're like super confused. I know what it is, and then like you unlock it, and it's just bare bones, nothing. Then, as you're going through the campaign, you unlock an aspect, you unlock a fragment, you're going through. And then at the end of the campaign, it's similar to like Void 3.0, where like you're going into the day one raid where there's like 3 or 4 fragments you don't have because they don't want you to have all of it for the raid drops. And then after the raid drops, here's a mission to get your other 4 fragments. That would have been so, but they didn't need to like dedicate every mission to Strand. They just needed to give you a couple tidbits here and there, similar to Beyond Light, not make it so involved that we miss the narrative of what's going on. That's the biggest
I agree
issue
with
I
you
have.
on that. I agree with you on that, but I think they were trying to make some sort of like happy medium because with Beyond Light, when you got to, commune with the darkness and, you know, enjoy stasis for what it was an optimal build of stasis.
Right.
And unfortunately, and this is a thing that happens in a lot of other games, like for example, I also play Genshin Impact. And in Genshin, you get to have a trial of a new character. The problem is that that trial is the optimal build for that character. And when you get that character, you don't know shit about how to build them. And so you end up getting frustrated and pissed off because you don't know how to build for that character. And I think what they were trying to do with Strand is say, okay, we understand that in Beyond Light, you know, we were giving you this optimal build, and then when you finally get it, you just don't know how to build for it right. So we're going to give you basic the
Yeah.
basic amount and let
Mhm.
you figure out how to build it for yourself once you get everything unlocked.
So I hear that, but and here's the one thing that like I'll say. I think what Bungie did to yesterday, since it's Friday now, where they
Mhm.
said, you know what, screw it, all of Strand's unlocked. That was a mistake
Yeah.
because now there's less to do in the end game. There should have been like the majority of it's unlocked, but here's like 3 or 4 you have to work for. They didn't
Yeah.
do that. They're like, here's a whole currency that you gain by using Strand,
Yeah.
and then you go buy a fragment here or a fragment there. That's a little absurd. It needed to
Yeah, I
be
agree with you on that. I
it
agree with
needed
you on that.
yeah, like it really needed to be like by the end of Lightfall, you have the majority of it unlocked. After day one raid, here's a mission like how they did Lament, where it's
Yeah.
like once it's up, like once the you fight like the boss and everyone's won, here's a mission to get your other fragments. Cool. Everyone's great. That would have been fine, but they
Yeah.
didn't do that. And it's very frustrating because it's like, especially how they sort of like give you almost infinite grapple in the campaign. There's a lot of people like complaining right now that the cooldowns, unless you wear Harder Than Most Light, are horrible, where you cannot do anything with Strand. And I kind of hear that because like I know like with the new Titan pants, your barricade comes back almost like instantly because the more people you suspend, the more barricade energy you get back. But like other than that, the cooldowns are even when you have like almost. I remember like yesterday, I had 99 discipline, but it took over a minute for the grapple to come back, and I was
Yeah.
like,
I've been
that's a
running
little
it at
much.
95 for both discipline and resilience, and my warlock, oh, I'm a squishy bitch. Like I'm running 95 freaking resilience. I should not be so squishy.
Yeah,
I
it
should
just
not have a 2-minute grenade cooldown
yeah. So it just
at
feels really
95
weird from that
discipline.
perspective. So
Yeah.
like so overall, I very much feel like and like it really feels like there's just so much explanations for certain things that were cut here. And like I'll give you a little bit of the benefit of the doubt that like, okay, cool, some of it will be explained over the course of the year, but there's still like so much that wasn't given here that it's just lost on all these casual players. And like there's so much information, so much lore. Like, and I'll be the one to say it. Like, I love the little Lethal Weapon reference where like Rohan's too old for this shit, and he's just like running and gunning and doing the whole thing, and like him and Osiris are having old man fights. Like, those are hysterical. Like, I
Those
was
are
in love with that.
hilarious.
Like, but like, and people were hating on Nimbus for being a millennial, like they're them doing their own thing. Like, I
He's
didn't
not
care.
even a millennial, dude.
Well,
Like
that's what people were saying.
I remember acting like that when I was a kid, and I'm Gen X, dude.
Yeah, and like, and we'll say this right now because there are 3 queer people hosting this podcast right now. If the reason why you have a problem with Nimbus is because they're non-binary, why are you here? Like let's keep it a $150. The most difficult mode in all of Destiny 2 is Trials of Osiris. It is hosted and themed around gay men. The campaign is in the discovery of Strand is taught to you and led by a gay man. There are lesbians in this universe. There's villain lesbians, for crying out loud. There's
Mhm.
not
There's
there
a trans villain that we've killed.
Yes, like there's freaking pansexuals, there's bisexuals, like there's gay minor characters like Devram and his husband. Like there's enough queer people in this game for long periods of time that if you're really bothered by someone just being in a futuristic society and just being known as they, because Rohan straight up just goes, hey, yo, yeah, no, Nimbus, they out there doing their own thing. Cool.
Yep.
They didn't like throw it down your throat and like that, as y'all crazy people like to say. They just said, hey, yo, they're over there. Cool. Who
I've
cares?
said it before and I'll say it again. They don't need to say, hi, I'm Nimbus and I use they them. It's fucking 2,000
Yeah.
years into the future. That shit's normal. It doesn't need to be said. And if your reaction to someone saying, hey, they use they them pronouns, or in the witness case, the witness is above gender, its pronouns are its,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
if your reaction to someone saying, hey, you don't need to read the lore, just listen to the dialogue and you'll hear everyone use they them, and your reaction is to call the person asking you to use the right pronoun a fucking victim, there's the door.
Honestly, though, like it very much is a situation of Bungie has made it very clear from having trans emblems and gay emblems and like BLM emblems and women's pride emblems that they are an inclusive group of people, and there are still a lot of bigoted people that play this video game, and it's the funniest shit in the world because you have people who are like in Trials of Osiris but still want to use the F slur and stuff like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
do you know what game mode you're playing? Do you know who this is? Like, do you know what's going on here? And they're
Do you
like,
know
no.
who's yelling in your ear right now?
Right.
Who's
You
telling
alone. And
his
you're like,
ghost to go to
Geppetto,
cover her
record
eye?
this.
Geppetto, cover your eye.
Right. It's like these are gay men right here. And they're like, well, aren't gay men supposed to be feminine? No, motherfucker. Like, I know some the masculine gay men. They're right here. Like, they doing the damn thing. So like, and when people say stuff like that, it just drives me nuts. So like, if you
yeah.
so if you have a criticism about like the way they did Nimbus's humor, that's a valid criticism. I just don't agree with that. I can give a shit. I'm like, whatever. Nimbus is doing their thing, having a good time. Cool, whatever. Who cares? But like, that was like, I will give some people the argument that Bungie kind of just assumed a lot of people knew the archetype of like the lethal weapon, like Danny Glover. I'm getting too old for this shit. Like that, like they kind of assumed you knew that archetype and just figured you would embrace Nimbus in Rohan. To the people who are saying that like Rohan and Nimbus aren't well designed in terms of like their aesthetic, shut up. They look fine. Who
To the
cares?
people who
I
are
honestly think
bitching
they look
about
cool.
They
go
look
ahead,
dope as
Alfred.
shit. They're augmented. They're supposed to look futuristic and metallic and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like
Because
What were you
literally,
saying?
if you read what Quickstorm Silver is, it's basically nanobots, and that's
yeah,
what the majority of their skin is made of. Is the
Mhm.
city's nanobots?
yeah. So like when people are like, there was like legit people saying that like they didn't like the way they look, and I'm like, bro, shut
There's one
up.
other thing for me
Go
that's
ahead.
really been pissing me off is people saying that they don't like Nimbus's voice and the different filters and auto tunes. It's like, look up at Thembo's fucking neck and tell me that they will speak like us. Just tell
Yeah.
me that you expect them to speak like us when their neck is literally destroyed with nanomachines. They're
Well, and
not
not
going to
only
talk like a regular person.
not only that, and like Rohan's out sounded like something more like a normal person. I kind of took it
He
as
also
like
had it as well, though.
yeah, but like I kind of took it like similarly to Apex Legends with Bloodhound, where like they intentionally wanted to sound like outside the realm of gender.
Yeah,
That's what I kind of took it as, and I was like, cool, whatever, who cares?
I like the musicality of the auto tuning, to be quite honest. It makes, to me, it makes them feel less binary. You know what I'm saying? Because they have a very masculine body, a very feminine face,
Yeah.
and with the mix of the tuning of the voice actor's voice and the auto tune and the filters in it, it makes them sound more of a range of gender rather than a single, oh yeah,
Yeah.
this person is, like in my case, I'm I'm an AFAB NB, okay?
Hmm.
I I use she they pronouns. I sound very feminine because my entire life I've trained my voice to sound more feminine.
Hmm.
So you look at me and you hear my voice and you go, "Oh yeah, this person presents as feminine, but I'm non-binary." If I had a deeper voice like Nimbus, then you could really tell that I'm not feminine, you know? Sure, I look feminine, but I don't sound it. With
Hmm.
Nimbus, it makes that non-binariness very more evident that they don't sound masculine, they don't sound feminine, they sound more of a range. And I
Right.
like that.
I
I
very much
like
dug
how
it.
I dig it a lot.
Yeah, it was dope. I thought that was dope. So like if you have a problem with that, I'm very much like why are you here at this point? Like that, Bungie's made it very clear what their intention is with this universe. And like if y'all ain't down with it, y'all there's other games y'all can play at this point. I'm sorry. But no, like
Yep.
I'm very much I stick by my statement. I'm very much in a C- range because there's a lot here that just isn't explained. There's like never an explanation of what a tormentor is, how the ghost figured out what a tormentor is. Um, there's just a giant triangle hole in the traveler, and no one knows what the frick's going on. Zavala and Ikora think the traveler is damn near dead. And it's like, okay, and I'm not even mad that we lost. I'm not mad that the ghost went up there and connected to the veil, whatever the hell it is. I'm fine with that. I want to know what the veil is. Like,
Right.
it seemed like there was a lot of memes going like, what is the veil? We went in with more questions than than answers and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's
Mhm.
just it feels as if we're sitting here and Bife made the joke of when he is known as the lore daddy of the community, and even he doesn't know what's going on, something's wrong. Like that was very much where I was, where it was like, Bungie has done a very good job over the course of the past 2 years, giving us information that we need to understand the narrative, and then giving us nuggets in the lore for more. And like straight up, what they like one of my favorite strikes, the new like Vex strike, is one of my favorite strikes they've ever designed. Because even just from the aesthetic, the Hydra fight, like that was great. I was down with that. Hell, that was a better fight than fighting freaking Korea. Like they could have straight up said, "Ayo, Korea's back," and Korea's there, and I would have been jumping for joy because Korea was too easily beat in the season of the Splicer campaign.
Yeah.
And I would have been like, yo, let's go. Let's freaking go. And it would have been fire to go up against Korea and finally have a good fight. And then you finish it, you're just chilling, collecting your loot. And then you hear Nezarek, and you're like, what? And apparently, if you wear Nezarek's Sin or you have Nezarek Whisper equipped, apparently people are hearing whispers around Neomuna. And I'm like, oh, snap.
Oh, that's not just because I hear the whispers when I go around, and Alchemy
Yeah,
can
same
can
here.
attest to it. Because we were gaming earlier before, we jumped on to record, and like Nezarek, when you're doing the was it the override thing?
Yeah, the overhead.
Nezarek will literally hop into your comms and go, "Don't look behind you."
Oh, that's gonna be terrifying.
Literally. Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah, he
Um,
does.
but it's also, in that strike, he does pop in and you hear those quote unquote unknown whispers. That's
Uh-huh.
him.
So like I'm very much excited from that aspect. Like that strike was god tier in terms of what's going on. I'm excited for it to be a GM. Like that's gonna be fun as all
it's gonna
hell.
be a fun
Like,
GM.
so it's very so from that aspect, I think they nailed it. I think the combat overall and then the entire thing was very well done. The enemy didn't like I remember one of our clanmates drag took me into one of the lost sectors and was like, "Do you think this lost sector is kind of hard?" I'm like, "Nah." Like, do you think it'll be hard on Legend? I'm like, I mean, the enemy density is kind of big, but if you have the right build and you're high enough light, I think you'll be fine. He's like, okay. And I think they're doing better when it comes to enemy density. I think they've learned that people want more like enemy density in terms of that aspect. I just feel like when it comes to the narrative, Bungie really fumbled the ball after 2 good years of like the gameplay being like average, but the storytelling being top tier. And now we've sort of shifted to where we're not getting all the story we need, but we're getting decent gameplay. And it's like, I need that paradigm shift to go back at least, where it's like the narrative team is on point. We're getting everything that we need. And if we get more throughout the seasons, cool, that's fine. But like, there still needs to be so much more explained to these casuals. There's so much more that needs to be explained to us. Like, just small little things, small little explanations that were just cut here. Like, I really need someone just to go, what is the veil? Because Osiris acts like he knows what the veil is. Rohan and Nimbus act like they know what's up and know what's going on. No, but like no one ever, like there was a great metaphor that Dado said where it's like, it feels like we're in Infinity War and Osiris is telling you to collect the Infinity Stones, but no one's telling you what the Infinity Stones are. And that was,
but there are people who know what it is, they just won't tell you.
Right. And it's like you're like they're telling you to go do the thing. And it's like, it's really frustrating because like you want like explanations, you want bombastic energy to go on. Hell, I wanted Callus's boss fight to be multi-level, like how they did with Savathun's boss fight, where like you fought her a little bit and then you had to fight some fucking Lucid Hive. You go across the water, you fight her clones, you go into her mind, and you clip the strings, and then you do it again, and then you fight her. It's multi-layered. We literally fought a bunch of Cabal outside. Kaido tells you to go inside, I got this. Kaido says, hey, I lost the fight while you're halfway down, and then Callus is just standing there. And you're like, what? And then, like, granted, the difficulty of that fight can be gauged by like different things and whatnot. But overall, it really felt like Callus just sort of teleported in versus he ran like through that whole bitch tearing it apart. So
I mean, he could have teleported and he did get darkness powers from the witness.
But like, show me a cutscene.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I know what you mean.
But also in the mission, while you're halfway, when you get there, you can. Kyle says, like you said, he's on his way down. You can see the screen shake. I don't play the vibration on, but you can probably the remote probably vibrates when.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So like,
it was actually kind of scary when I felt that.
Yeah, but what I was thinking is that when he gets down there, he brings out like the Colossus thing. It looks like a giant ass drill. Like if they actually showed a cutscene of him bringing that out and digging his way down to the veil, I think that would have been cool.
Yeah.
Or like it kind of felt like that drill was his only real source of power in terms of the witness. With Rolk, this man had his own glaive. He had like powers outside the glaive. He was shooting beams. But like when it came to Callus, it looked like he just got a makeover and given a gun. And it was like, where's all this awesome power that the
remember you died? Remember you died to pervading darkness?
Well, yeah, because because he shot the gun and then all that stuff appeared. So like I'm really feeling like that when it came to Callus, they needed to give him more. They needed to give him more energy, more fight. Like they still kept using the stupid Leviathan head projection. Like we needed to move beyond that. Like hell, Callus should have showed up in the mission where you enter his giant arena. That arena is so cool. And we're never gonna get to see that again, other than that one mission. That could be a strike all on its own. That giant arena, and like similar to the version of Glassway where Aramis shows up instead of the Overload Captain. That could have been Callus's entrance, where Callus shows up and shoots you with some darkness, some parading darkness, and makes his big entrance known and whatnot. That would have been dope. But it's like we're just reusing the same Leviathan head. And like, you know how cool it would have been to see Callus just come down instead of his giant head being there when you're fighting his forces, like with Keitel, and he just comes down and just wipes everybody out but you and Keitel. Like that would have been awesome.
that would have been really epic to see. I won't.
And
lie
honestly,
there.
they did Keitel fucking dirty and not giving a cutscene when she said her famous line.
Yeah,
we eat the mountains, we drink the seas. I'm like, bro, this should have been her moment where she squares up against Callus and whoops his ass, and then he goes psych and just knocks her to the ground. Like that would have been awesome.
Yeah,
there was that one point in the montage where they did show Keitel speaking with her forces. I would have preferred to have that dialogue where she was talking about, drinking or eating the mountains and drinking the seas. I would have preferred to have that moment, that dialogue in the montage in that moment. I was expecting that line when they showed her in the montage, and they didn't do it. They did it earlier in the campaign, and it was just like, but that doesn't fit.
Doesn't feel right.
Put
it doesn't hit
here.
right.
Put it here.
Right. Or like it really feels like there's just stuff missing and lack of opportunity seized. Like that's why I'm giving this a C-. Like it feels like there's so much you could have done and you just didn't do it. Like there's people that are mad about the cliffhanger. I don't give a fuck about the cliffhanger. Like we needed to lose. This was supposed to be the Infinity War where Final Shape is our end game. Like this was supposed to, but it doesn't feel like we really lost because at the end of the day, we still go back to the tower and and Guardian Games is in a month. Like we're still gonna celebrate and do the damn thing. We're like nothing's changed. Like we should have been like we should have lost the tower, been left on the farm, and like anything we do with Shax in terms of Crucible stuff, or anything we do with Gambit should be only simulations. And like we get dialogue saying these are only simulations, Guardian. We're not going to these locations because they're gone. Like that should have been what we heard. But it doesn't feel like that. This should have been like Independence Day levels, Welcome to Earth, Will Smith type shit, and we didn't get that. And it's very frustrating. And to the people who are like defending Bungie and saying the people who are giving these critiques are out of line. This isn't like season of Plunder where everyone was just bitching to bitch. Like they needed to shut up during that. That was too much. People were just burnt out on the seasonal model and just were not being understanding. They were just not down with the storytelling and being really rude. That was out of line. Here, Bungie fumbled the ball. Like this is very like we're down with Strand. We enjoy the combat density. We enjoy some of the stuff that's going on. But narratively, Bungie fumbled the ball, and it's very obvious.
I still have to disagree. Well, I agree with you on some points, like with, certain cutscenes and, the possibilities of things being, more epic than they were. Narratively, I still have to disagree. I'd still give overall, I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. Combat, I'd give it maybe a 6.
Okay.
Narrative, I'd give it, 7.5. But that's just me because I do understand those things. From a player perspective, I know what the Veil is. I know who Nezarek is. So seeing those things in the game finally, hearing Nezarek finally, you know, even imagining him as a possible raid boss, that has me hyped for the future.
Mm.
And so that's why I give it, a higher score. And especially in the narrative, because again, yeah, our guardian isn't supposed to know what those things are. And
Yeah.
that's where I think the narrative hits on the point is we're feeling this, people are feeling this frustration of not having answers because that's the whole point. Our guardian isn't supposed to know these things.
Yeah.
But like,
I see it, and personally, me as the player, I love it. I'm hyped. Yes, it's not perfect. Again, the 8.5 rather than the 10 out of 10. Personally, I feel like Beyond Light was a higher score than that.
oh, most
Curse of
definitely.
Osiris was
Yeah.
a higher score than
You're like the
that.
only person I've ever heard be down with Curse of Osiris like that.
Oh,
It's
I
so
loved
weird.
Curse of Osiris. I loved it.
I
absolutely
was kind
adored
of
it. I
I
played
liked it, but not.
multiple times. It's one of my favorites. But like, yeah, there are some gripes that I have about it, primarily combat based. But I feel like I understand where Bungie is trying to go with this. Now, granted, I don't have insider any of that kind of stuff, so I can't say, "Oh, yes, Bungie is definitely doing this or whatever." I'm going by what they've released, but I feel like they hit that frustration of, or they hit that point of this is the frustration that your guardian is supposed to
Yeah.
feel. This is the point that we're trying to make. We want you to finally feel like you are your guardian. Your guardian is going to have questions, and they will be answered. Just keep
But just
doing
not now.
just not now. Just keep doing what you're doing. We will answer it, and it's okay for you to feel frustrated.
Or as
That's how
Dory
I
would say, just keep
keep
swimming, just keep
swimming.
swimming.
See, like, and I hear you. I really do. I after hearing your perspective, I feel like some of what Bungie is doing makes sense, but there's just still so much just like basic storytelling narrative. Like I've studied storytelling. I've studied
Mhm.
like when it comes to it, and there's just basic
I'm a writer. I
stuff.
get you.
Yeah, like there's just basic fundamentals that just felt like they fumbled, and they had to prioritize Strand, so they cut explanations, they cut certain things, and
Mhm.
that's more like
Panda?
if it was what
May I intervene? I did just get the notification from the Bungie Twitter that all fragments are now unlocked now.
yeah we mentioned that. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. Well, they finally did.
Oh, they finally released the
notify
patch
us.
for it. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
fine.
they
like
finally
36
released
minutes
the patch
ago.
Cool. Okay, so like, but beyond that, like, there's just like, because I'm okay with the end cutscene where straight up the traveler just cuts a hole in the traveler and just disappears. That's a cliffhanger and information that we don't need that we'll discover in a season or two. That's fine. But like certain things that just are not explained, like yes, we know from a lore perspective and stuff that was cut that the Veil was an original race, but in terms of like basic like understanding of like how does it power Neomuna? What is it made out of? What is it like what connection does it have to the traveler? Things like that like Osiris and Rohan apparently know that like isn't told in like to the Guardian at all. Like those things, like those small little things that need to be a part of this narrative are just gone. Like I'm down for a little bit of confusion. I'm down for us to lose. I'm down for like because if it'd have been real funny if Nimbus wouldn't have grabbed Ghost and we had to make that tough call to shoot our own ghost. And that would have been the light fall where we lose everything. That would have been awesome. But like,
oh yeah, I was expecting us to have to shoot him.
right, like those kind of cliffhangers and missing questions, I'm okay with. But there's just basic fundamentals that are missing where I feel like Bungie fumbled. And that's where I'm hard stuck, where it's like, I hear you on like the ending and things like that, but and like we'll probably learn a lot of lore in the raid and stuff like that. But there's people in terms of casuals that still haven't even like looked in terms of the lore inside of Vow of the Disciple. But they still got a complete narrative from Witch Queen and and like there's people who didn't go into Deepstone but still got a complete narrative from Beyond Light. Like those type of things, you still have a complete narrative in those campaigns versus here where there's just basic explanations missing. Like in like a perfect example, like there's like in terms of how, like say in terms of Beyond Light, they never explain, like you never see any of these little pyramids hanging around, that you never see the ziggurat. It's just Aramis has the darkness. How? Aramis has the darkness. Like she's using it on you, and you can't use it. You don't know how to get to it. Like Elsie doesn't know what's going on. Like that's what it feels like. Where it's like we're not given the breadcrumbs, or like if they would have never explained how Savathun got her memory back, or how Savathun became a guardian, and you just had to go through the campaign and defeat Savathun, never knowing how she got the light. Like that's those kind of little tidbits are missing from this, and it's like, Bungie, why did you fumble this ball? You kicked butt in Beyond Light, you kicked butt in Witch Queen. Why did you fumble here? Like, I'm used to the gameplay team fumbling, not the narrative team. The narrative team has been on point, and it feels really weird that the narrative team fumbled the ball here. Like, does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, no, I can definitely see your points there.
Okay, cool. So like that's kind of where I'm at. Alchemy, do you have anything else to add? I want to like you over here being silent a lot. I'll make sure you get your lick here.
No, you guys touched all the points that I was thinking, but like honestly, when I said back when to what I said in between your guys' conversation on how all fragments are locked, I feel like they should have kept they should add 3 more, or like they should have unlocked all of them. They should have kept the world's first fragments locked, because like every like Witch Queen, we had the void fragments behind which
you had to wait behind under Vow,
yeah,
and for Solar 3.0 we had to wait until we did a community challenge to get them done. Like we needed to do something to earn those, but now like I just feel like
kind of gave up and said, "Here, have all of it."
Yeah.
It feels really weird.
Yeah, and also that means once we get in game, we can get the new strand arm.
Because that was the other paywall was until you have all of Strand, you can't get the sidearm. So that's a little weird, but like So I want to shift a little bit before we answer those sort of questions. There's one more thing with Lightfall that I want to talk about: the armor system. I really feel like Bungie oversimplified things too much.
Yeah,
and we posted a meme about it on the Twitter, where like someone posted Powerful Friends the mod and said, "Look what they massacred my boy," like from Godfather. And that was the biggest way that we could express what happened with the armor system, because rather than put in tutorials on how the mods work and how they work with different builds and teach people how to build craft, that way it isn't just on the hands of the YouTubers and the content creators, Bungie just said, screw it, we're going to combine it all into one system, cut out like half the stuff that makes the build crafting fun, and here you go. And it feels really weird. Like that, like it feels like because they spent all of the Beyond Light era coming up with all these new mods for elemental wells and creating elemental wells and making them a fundamental, to the point that they nerfed a lot of Charge with Light mods, and they nerfed how to generate orbs of power by taking it away from masterwork weapons and trying to say, hey, we want to minimize how orbs of power are created, just to then go, hey, here's a brand new armor system. It's fully operated around generating orbs of power.
Yeah.
And I'm like, did we just take like 50 steps backward to take 2 steps forward? Like what's happening here?
Yeah. So as someone who's only just recently learned how to build craft, like having to learn a brand new system all over again after just even slightly understanding how the old system worked. Like y'all build and I know the two of you build hard for your arms and weapons and stuff like that, and you guys have much more experience with that. I have very little, and I just got comfortable understanding how Charged with Light mods work. How to build, artifice armor, and how to freaking understand how to, you know, like focus my engrams into uh, you know, two at
That
the
armor.
very least two high stat, things. And now I have to completely learn a brand new system again. And the mods seem very confusing this time around because they
Exactly.
changed,
Yeah.
like, even though they had the explanation in, a previous TWAB, it it still is very confusing to me about how, like, the overcharges work and how all that other kind of shit works, and I have to relearn it all over again,
Right.
and I just
Yeah.
barely got comfortable with it,
Like, it really feels like Bungie needed to
Just
sit down and just build explanations for how their mods worked. And instead, they just like threw all the mods in the trash after spending like 3 years developing. Because, like, let's be real, the explanation behind why Warmind cells aren't in the game anymore, that's fine. I can get behind
Yeah.
that. But when Witch Queen came out, they nerfed a lot of Charge with Light mods, especially Protective Light. And then all of the Beyond Light year from Hunt, Chosen, Splicer, and the Lost created and developed these elemental well mods,
Yeah.
only to then go meh and throw them all in the trash. And it's like, why not just spend time, especially because you gave everybody every mod in the game? Why not, with the new Guardian rank system, develop tutorials? This is another reason why Bungie gets criticism that they're new player friendly. They're not new player friendly. I'm teaching somebody right now who just got into the game, who just joined the Discord server, how to play the game, and she has so many questions. She's like, "How does this work? How does this work?" Bungie doesn't explain anything about their game once Shahan gives you a sparrow in the ship and says, "Go." Like, there's nothing. And Bungie decided to go, let's simplify everything rather than teach people how our game works. We keep deprecating things, deprecating world materials, deprecating the new crafting system, deprecating this and that. Why not just develop tutorials to teach people and not just like little snippets at the bottom of the screen, like menus and things that teach people how to do things.
Full videos in the game saying, "Hey, this is how this works."
Right, Yeah.
90% of the content creators will do that for them.
If you paid like Datto or Astacross or somebody, they would you could literally put those on the Bungie or Destiny 2 YouTube channel, and that would be a great tool for people to use. But instead, you're just like new system, and like it was so hard for even me to understand half this stuff because especially when they're like, hey, because people were complaining about resilience being too busted, we're gonna increase the amount of how much resilience costs. And it makes it harder to build craft into resilience when resilience is still the most important stat in the game because it's a defense stat. Like
I said before, I have a 95 resilience warlock, 95 resilience, 95 discipline, and even that took me forever to learn how to do. And I'm still squishy. I'm a fucking sponge.
And for some
just
reason,
go ahead
I'm
and
running.
throw me off a cliff, man.
Yeah. And for some reason, I'm running right now with the current armor that I'm running. I'm speccing into recovery and I think it's strength. And sometimes I outlive her now with almost 100 discipline. I mean 100 100 discipline.
Recovery.
There was times in the Vex training mission where Alchemy was outliving me, the Titan who never dies. Because I literally make memes about how during Master Atheon, when it first came out, I was the only person who didn't die because I would stay in my bubble and be a smart person. And like I have 100 resilience, 100 recovery, 100 intellect, and would run around like a crackhead. Like I was the dude who could not die, but Alchemy is outliving me now. That's what's going on, where like the new build system is so minimal, so different, and so like not even old like veteran player friendly. It's barely even veteran player friendly, and it's like why did you do this when you could have just level out the charge with light mods, that way they're on the same level as elemental well mods. That's one of my biggest criticisms is rather than like lowering protective light to the same like skill like level as well as tenacity, they pushed protective light into the ground and said, hey guys, use well of tenacity. And like Bungie tried so hard for everyone to lean into elemental well builds by nerfing how orbs of power were generated, by nerfing protective light, like going to such lengths, and then they're like, it's all gone, and it's like, why?
Yeah,
it's so weird. So that's my little bitch about that for a second. But we're gonna go ahead and answer a couple listener questions real quick. We didn't get a ton, but we're gonna still answer them real quick and make sure everyone who wanted to have a question get answer real quick. Alchemy, you're being ignored for your question because you're on the show. So Punk asked, what?
May I still say it though? Because it is a pretty interesting question though.
So Alchemy asked, how long is World's First going to be? I'm guessing 18 hours because Bungie's like, especially with the new build crafting system being the way it is, and not everyone knowing what the best DPS is, it's going to take a while. So I'm guessing 14 to 18 hours.
But you see, I'm thinking it's going to be more like when Last Wish was launched, where it took them like almost the whole entire, like hell, I think them extending contest mode is going to be like saying, hey, we have made this content, like either they're going to add more encounters or like they're just going to make it like they have to understand certain mechanics to a T to get past the encounter, because World's First Last Wish I think took over like 40 hours.
Damn.
Yeah, because didn't they have a lot of struggles figuring out how to do the eyes?
Yeah,
that's what I thought. That's why we never do eyes. We clip toenails.
Eyes and balls
that was what
roadblocks.
Yeah, so that was Alchemy's. Yeah, so that was Alchemy's question in regards to the World's First race. We'll be talking about the race next week because we'll be recording the show the day before the raid race, so that'll be like the way to know about that. Brain fart. The next question came from Punk, who asked, "Is speedrunning healthy for Destiny? Is it encouraged or should it be?" Alchemy, I'm gonna let you answer this before I go on a rant.
Boy, do I have a rant too.
Some things should be speedran. Like hell, like the new so in the Headlong mission, you're doing a course. Like it's supposed to be better. Like you're supposed to try to get the fastest time. But also like speedrunning dungeons for like a competition or something, like I see that trying to get the shortest time. But it gets to a point where if you're breaking out of the map for a speedrun, I think you should be like it shouldn't fucking count. Like you are breaking the game to get a faster time.
So here's a perfect example of why, and like what's funny is what one of the main contributing factors of why Cosmodrome Radio started was because I got into a bunch of heat with the creator on TikTok by protesting why were they teaching people how to oob out of the map in Deepstone, which oob is out of bounds. Here's the hot take that no one wants to hear. Bungie doesn't want you to go outside the map. Just because they give up when it comes to things like Last Wish or Deepstone and older content doesn't mean they want you to do it. Case in point.
Goddamn right.
The day of Spire of the Watcher releasing, somebody figured out that if you propel yourself upward and go above the mountain where the Cyclops spawn and drop down where Bungie never thought anybody could reach, because wow, when you build a mountain in the middle of Mars with no access points for anybody to reach, you think it's just terrain. No one's gonna mess with it. No one's gonna bother it. And people figured out that if you drop into that specific spot, you can break through the map, skip the entire first encounter, and go straight into the jumping puzzle. Bungie didn't want you to do that. They didn't want you to like. I remember when Presage came out, and people figured out that if you jumped on some boxes and jumped over a wall, you could go outside the map to speed run Presage. Bungie ended up patching that because Bungie doesn't want you to do that.
Yeah.
Bungie. Like, I remember when people were speed running Grasp of Avarice by silence and squalling the Vandal hidden outside the map to count for the shield's health bar, because they did the same thing with going outside the map in Deepstone, where Bungie hid a Vandal outside the map to count for the health bar for the terminals for the crypt security, and Bungie had to move it because people kept silence and squalling it to kill it. Bungie doesn't want you to do these things. So I agree with Alchemy that if you're speedrunning with tech that's supposed to be in the game, because contrary to popular belief, Bungie didn't mean for eager edge and well skating and for shatter skating to be a thing either. So if you're using tech that Bungie actually gave you in the game, like regular eager edge, like sparrows, because sparrows are meant to do, or like Worldline, which Worldline got nerfed, but like that's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
Bungie, like, if you're using real things Bungie gave you and meant for them to work to speedrun, cool, I can respect it. But when you're abusing the system, I'm not a fan. There's nothing I can do about it, but I'm not a fan. That's how I feel. I have respect for like I remember I saw a video about a month ago where a whole fire team ran all of Garden of Salvation in 11 minutes because they were breaking out of the map and doing certain things, and they beat Garden in 11 minutes. And I was disgusted.
Yeah,
like that's and like it's mostly it's mostly because people are like cheesing on PC and doing weird combinations with their keybinds and whatnot, and they think it's like a speedrunning system. Cool. I don't agree with it, and you're gonna be salty, but like that's just how I feel.
I personally have a perspective of, because I don't do a lot of raids. I don't do a lot of like high-end game content like you guys do. But I see speedrunners from like, just a general strike perspective or, things like that. I can't stand when someone goes in and just either breaks either goes out of bounds or, they just zoom right through everything, especially in a strike. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you've got weekly bounties and stuff like that to do. Let me kill my freaking enemies and do my bounties. Now, this is something that I've spoken with some of my other friends that I like have been gaming with for a while, and we've always thought that, you know, strikes should have a solo queue mode
Yes.
where
Honestly.
a separate mode where if you want to go in with your fire team or you want to go in solo and just see how fast you can go through it and not
Almost like
have
a
to worry
nightfall.
about not have to worry about matchmaking, but you just want to, do it, by yourself and see how quickly you can do it. They should have that outside of the nightfalls. Like just
Yeah.
a basic level strike where you can just solo mode it. Like if you're going to go do a 1v1 in PvP, you can pull up the map and just chill in the map. Something like that, but for strikes. Because, a lot of us, especially the casual players or the new lights, they need to go in and they have bounties
Yeah.
and quests that they have to do
Yeah.
in order to finish the new light quests, where if somebody is, getting take Devil's Lair, for example, if somebody is going in and breaking out of the game and going straight to Sepix, in like 10 seconds or, a minute or whatever, they're not going to be able to get those bounties done. That
Yeah.
quest is not going to
Yeah.
count for them because they can't get the kills they need. Or if somebody just wants to chill and just take their time and get kills for Banshee or, whatever in those strikes, we should be able to do that in the matchmaking playlist. No problem. And if you want to go break outside of the game and find your out of bounds areas, go into a solo, you know,
Yeah.
stay out of the
This is what
matchmaking.
they need to do. Add like so Crucible Labs. Why not add something like Vanguard Labs
Yeah.
where they could have you make your own custom mode or something like that.
Like, unless
Yeah.
it's
And it's just you.
specifically a time trial, there's no reason, in my opinion, to speedrun,
Yeah.
stuff that's simple like strikes. Like,
Well,
sure,
and
there was
like,
the Nightmare Hunts time trials. Those were fun, and you had to get in, get your kills, get that nightmare down as quick as you possibly could. The new time trials on Neo Muna, that's great. That is specifically meant to be
well, and like,
sped
here's the
through.
thing. Here's why speedrunning in like ubing and whatnot became a thing. It specifically, especially in Destiny, it became a thing because people were bored with the seasonal content. People were bored with the raids. People were bored with what Bungie was offering. So because they enjoyed the gunplay and the abilities and the supers and whatnot, they manufactured their own fun. That's why low mans became a thing. For those who don't know, low mans
Yeah.
are when people
Yeah.
do like 2-man or 3-man raids or dungeons, or like or solo dungeons and whatnot, or like those kind of activities, because they wanted to prove, whether it be through glitches or exploits or like whatever they need to do, they can conquer the content. And that's not what Bungie intended. Like, I remember that
No.
the day or two after Vault of Glass got put in D2, like someone did a like solo or duo Atheon. And it was like, that's not what Bungie designed that to do. You're
Right.
Yeah.
manufacturing your own fun because you're bored. If you're bored, Bungie has said they're not going to be upset if you go play something else. That doesn't mean manufacture your own FUD. Which if you're like cool with that community, cool. Like this is just my critique, my criticism. Like you didn't have to manufacture your own FUD. Now, like there was recently, Evan F. posted that he did a solo dungeon run race where like a bunch of people had to like race through all like 5 dungeons. That's cool because there was almost no umming allowed if you did like any skips like in Duality. If you did curtain skip where you climbed the curtain with a sword, you got a time penalty. Like that's cool where you're penalized for trying to do skips and you had to show that you're competent enough to complete the content. That's manufacturing your own content, but within the walls and the confines of what Bungie designed the game to do. That's what I think is more compelling content.
Absolutely agreed. Absolutely.
So like that's now, our little rant on that.
Yeah. Granted, I know there are speedrunning communities out there, and that's great. That's wonderful for you. If you wanna go speedrun with, your fellow speedrunning community members, fire team up and go speedrun that shit. But stay out of the general pool.
Yeah.
General matchmaking pool, please. For the love of God, I need my bounties.
All right. So that's our little rant in terms of the speed running. Princess Panda asked in the Discord, which class would you guys choose if you had to choose only one? And why? And what benefits would you prefer from one? Like be done with it. So I actually have
a class.
Subclass. Oh, that's a class. I thought it's a subclass. So if I had, how about that? If I, in a perfect world, I really want Titans to just get a full redux when it comes to their exotics. And this kind of goes back to the rant that I had this past week on TikTok, where Bungie just kind of slid into the patch notes and said, "Hey guys, we're nerfing Heart of Inmost Light," and thankfully, Heart of Inmost Light hasn't been nerfed that bad. But we talked about this previously, where Bungie doesn't understand how to raise up rather than pull down when it comes to things. Because Heart of Inmost Light didn't receive any nerfs or buffs. It had just been elevated by the reworks of all the subclasses and the different ability reworks and whatnot. That's why Heart of Inmost Light became the main tool, but they didn't compensate by raising up different exotics. They didn't like do something with Hallowfire Heart. They didn't do anything with Insurmountable Skull Fort. They didn't do anything with Doomthing Pauldrons. They didn't do anything with Cannon Brace when Cannon Brace just came out. Like they didn't do anything with Second Chance. Like there's so many different things that need to be. The Ashen Wake. There's so many things that need to be overhauled when it comes to Titans specifically. That when I made my video complaining about Heart of Inmost Light being nerfed, people were like, "Oh, like cry about it. Titans are overpowered." No, Titans are not overpowered. The reason why you think Titans are overpowered, and I'm going to be the one to say it. You think Titans are overpowered because you saw GXR Clyde make a bonk Titan build. When in reality, and I'm going to say it right now, Clyde, bonk Titan is you exploiting game mechanic. Because when you really sit down and look at how the Titan, Solar Titan works, it is a horrible subclass. You are milking one melee to make the rest of the subclass look decent. You're combining Synthoceps in one melee. If they took Bonk Hammer out of the game, you would have nothing. You would have nothing with Solar as a subclass, because they removed tempered metal. They removed the damage buff because they were scared about Laura Lee activating the damage buff. They nerfed sunspots, like they nerfed healing with sunspots overall. And like while they do offer a lot of healing from a certain perspective, they do allow ability regen. Solar is nothing. Like even as a super, Solar is nothing but killing miners in strikes. So when I see like Clyde complaining or like saying on TikTok that, oh, this is what Chads need to run. No, this goes back to the fact that overall Titans in terms of exotics have nothing right now. Like the new pants, the new strand pants are like the coolest thing we've gotten in a long time because Cannon Brace sucked, Second Chance sucked. Like they had to take fucking Precious Scars back outside and old Yeller it and then rebuild it from scratch to make it be decent. Like it's been a hot minute before, like since we've gotten a good exotic. And like even with Lauralee, it was only good because it was broken because of the fact that like the restoration was overpowered. Like that's what happened. Yeah. But when you look across the board, Arc suffers greatly because Fists of Havoc, even with the new 20% of God, is still trash. Fists of Havoc will never be good until they allow it to do damage in endgame PvE. Thunder Crash has been nerfed like a couple of times and is only good when you have Curus of the Falling Star. Void is only good because it's the only really good subclass for endgame PvE because of both Bubble and Banner Shield when you wear Ursa's. But even then, Ursa Furiosa got nerfed because they made it only give you half the super back. So like it very much feels like Titan, like when it comes to Stasis is probably like the second best when it comes to in-game PvE now because of all the champion mod changes. But even then, it's not much better. So it's like, it really feels as if Bungie needs to just sit down and rework almost every Titan exotic. That's how I feel about that.
Agreed. Agreed. Having played Titan for, the past, year, like when I got Lauralee finally, I was expecting much more than what I got because I had seen all the videos, I had seen my friends, and I was really disappointed in the restoration. Now, granted, it did allow me to solo flawless normal Seraph Shield, but I was expecting to be able to go into the legend Seraph Shield and be able to solo flawless it with Lauralee. And I got nothing. Nope. Nope. I could barely make it past the spacewalk on every single try, even with Lauralee's restoration and freaking bonk hammer and all those freaking sunspots. Like it never worked for me, and I was so disappointed.
And
I thought I could do something challenging for once.
Right. And like I very much want to make it clear. I'm not attacking Clyde or trying to like disrespect him or anything like that. I'm saying his take is not hot. His take is very much like something that is like not good for the community because it's not allowing people to see the real problem when it comes to the subclass issue and the Titans overall. That's what I'm saying. And like I've said in videos previously that Clyde has an open invitation to come on the show and defend his perspective because I respect him as a raider. But like other than that, I very much am of the belief that his hot take when it comes to Synthoceps and Bonkhammer is whack. And like that's just cut and dry. In terms of the class situation for both of y'all Warlocks, how do y'all feel in terms of Warlocks when it comes to the game right now?
I would like to see we're done with Solar.
Yeah, same.
I feel like the only viable Solar build specifically for Warlocks right now is Nades
Starfire Protocol.
I personally feel like the only one is Nades for days. Especially in like, lower end PvE content. Higher end I usually run, well, so I don't have
and like I'm tired of being the only Warlock in my fire team and be like, oh, you're gonna be well, bitch. Like
now, can I add a caveat to that? Can I add a caveat to that? That doesn't mean either of these two is advocating for well to be nerfed. That means the rest of the subclasses need to be elevated alongside of well.
Yes, exactly. Because I would love to be able to go in and, blink lock, freaking void blink lock. I would love to be able to learn how to do that. I've tried it I was not impressed. Slova, I really enjoyed. It was the only thing that saved my ass in getting my Dredgen title initially. Because that bitch tracks and she tracks up Chaos Reach, which made me very happy. But I think they could do more, especially with, like you said, in the Titans, the exotics. I think the problem is that, like you said, they build down rather than building
Build
up.
up.
Yeah, because like as content gets more difficult, as they change the way things work, as the power creep gets higher and higher and higher, things shouldn't be nerfed. They should be buffed in order to work
Yeah.
with that power, in order to work with the new, or in order to be able to compete with the new subclasses like Strand
Yeah.
and Stasis. Because for a long time, um, I have friends who play, lots of friends who play PvP, and so I'll watch them on their streams and what have you. And for a long time, Stasis Lock was the only viable way to play PvP,
You right?
Yeah.
especially when it first came out. And instead of saying, okay, well, we'll try and help people build around that stuff, they nerfed stasis lock into the ground, not just in PvP, but in PvE as well, even though they have separate sandboxes. The
Yeah.
tracking for, the Shadebinder orbs doesn't go as far and doesn't do as much damage. Like, even in PvP or PvE, they nerfed that so much where it could have
Right.
helped in things like
Yeah.
GMs and stuff like that. Um, they could have easily said, all right, well, your Bleak Watcher aspect, has a longer cooldown in PvP, or it doesn't shoot as many as many stasis shots in PvP.
Yeah.
Sure, that's fine, but don't put that in PvE and then come back and build an exotic that basically takes away that entire nerf to begin with.
Yeah.
Like,
Like, hey,
what's
here's
the
some brand new
point?
gauntlets. Have fun.
Yeah, here's some new
Yeah.
gauntlets that give you back that ability in PvE. Like, you shouldn't have taken that ability away in the first place in PvE. Sure, take it out of PvP, that's fine. Leave us with like lock out Bleak Watcher from PvP. That's okay.
Yeah.
It's still
Yeah.
it would still be viable in PvE, but you
Yeah.
can't use it in PvP. But I've seen people, with the new gloves in PvP with the Bleak Watcher aspect just wrecking in PvP. And it's like, is
Yeah.
that really fair? Is that really fair?
Yeah.
You know?
So it very much feels like for both of them. I need to get another hunter in here so we can talk about that aspect. But like, it feels like Bungie needs to revisit a lot of things, because we're not saying like hunters are trash or titans are trash or warlocks are trash. It feels like
No.
Bungie needs to go back to the drawing board with a lot
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah.
So I want to
And
save.
Um, if you look at it right now, hunters are the most well off in the current state of the game, because they got Last Handshake, Wormhusk Crown. They got so many exotics that are they just add to their neutral game, but they are still like good exotics to run for any type of content.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Agreed.
So I want to touch on Hafer and Vargar's question in terms of bounty hoarding next week, and because it also touches on the raid next week as well, and also we are gonna wrap up. Don't forget, folks, that you can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, all those great places. You can follow us on Twitter. Join the Discord. Get your questions answered, because we do want to answer your questions on this podcast and elaborate more. So make sure that you join the Discord. If you're looking for a clan, holla at us, because you can be a fan but also be part of the clan if you want to be part of the clan, or you can just be a fan. So you can do both or either. It's cool. So definitely be a part of that and be a part of the team. We do have a cool announcement coming like later in the week on the Twitter, so definitely look out for that cool little thing we're doing. But just so get ready for that. But also next week we'll be back to get ready for the raid, so get ready for that. Tower, what's your closing statement?
Have fun on Neomuna. Enjoy Strand. Alchemy's heard this before. Fly, my children.
Alchemy, what's your closing statement?
My closing statement is have fun on Neomuna, and see all you Raiders next week in the world's first.
My closing statement is Bungie. It hurts my heart that you fumbled the ball, but I'm not losing hope. And I really want you to know that. I have a lot of respect for what you guys have done the past 2 years. I'm hurt, but I'm not giving up. And I really want to see you guys rise to the occasion and tell us a really good narrative moving forward. But I really don't want you guys to get dependent on the seasonal content to fix things. Because when you really sit down and think about it, this is the cost of like a normal AAA title. There should have been more content here. There should have been more explanation here. And I really feel bad for a lot of people, especially the casuals who are already confused a lot of the time. They're even more confused compared to even us who who don't even know what's going on. So while I'm sad you fumbled, I know you have the capability to pick up the ball and run with it. So we will catch you folks Starside. We will see you next week. Peace out.
In the root of nightmare.